I am Chris Williams, and I'm super excited to share one of my friends, Carissa. She is a clinical therapist and somatic healer, and she works with women who are noticing that their nervous systems are kind of taking over, right? They're running the show. And Carissa also teaches yoga, and she does some really amazing work to help you kind of uncover what are some of these triggers and how they're actually keeping you from living into your most fulfilled life in whatever way that looks for you. So Carissa, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm so excited to share you with my audience.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm just thrilled to be here with you.
Yeah. So will you just tell us a little bit about the work that you do and why this, became a passion for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was actually doing my master's in counseling psychology, which was primarily in the realm of talk therapy,
Hmm.
while I was actively in a very abusive relationship.
Hmm.
And interestingly was not aware of that at all. And in fact, fighting very hard to maintain and stay in the relationship I was in. And it was once leaving the relationship, it came through hearing another coworker's story that opened up my awareness to what I was living. And once I exited that relationship, I found myself in this position of what I now understand to be a completely dysregulated nervous system.
Hmm.
And I crawled onto my yoga mat to learn how to breathe again. And so in that process, I would be doing hip openers and I'd start crying, or I would, be moving through different postures, and I'd have rage coming up. And so that triggered me into and it's interesting, we'll use the word triggered a few times here because it keys us. It goes, there's something stored here, but it informs us of this. There's something here
Hmm.
that, I don't just hate this yoga pose. It's actually, there's maybe some emotion in the body. And so that opened the whole realm of somatic therapy for me. And so that became a deep dive into the nervous system, into understanding how this is held in the body, how this is held in the soma, how we can release and heal that. And then diving into the world of internal family systems and inner child healing and going, okay, what are the deeply held feelings and beliefs stored in these places where this intense energy and emotion is, that we're actually informing my decisions, that were informing why I felt I needed to stay in a relationship in which I
Hmm.
was being abused, or what's really running the show. So it's really, I came to this path through my own healing and self-discovery journey. And now it's my great passion to be able to help do this work with others, to go, oh, okay, we can kind of break free from those subconsciously stored feelings and beliefs that are currently running the patterns in our life, heal, and then come into this new kind of conscious co-created reality. So that's a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And, I think it's so powerful that we get to actually talk into, somatic work because back in 1993, I started teaching yoga, like back in the day. And we knew, one of the things that we said was your issues are in your tissues, right? And so while we knew that some of the yoga poses was like helping to release energy, it wasn't really talked about in the scientific perspective of, oh,
Mhm.
this is why it's happening. This is why, these are the things that might be causing the triggers. This is the way that we're holding it. And this is how we can actually release that. And I'm so, so glad that there is more available now. I love talk therapy, and you can also kind of release, I think, quicker. I don't know, you tell me, when you're actually uncovering how the nervous system is really getting hijacked.
Absolutely. And the quicker piece is interesting because I think what happens, and I still believe in
Mhm.
talk therapy too.
Yeah.
Talk is powerful, sharing
Yeah.
our story, being
Mhm.
validated in our experience, connecting. And what I've recognized is that talk therapy works with the realm of the current person. So
Mhm.
myself as an adult right now, I can talk myself into a new understanding of the things that I've been
Mhm.
through. But where the real healing happens is that little girl inside me that went through that still doesn't know it. And
Ah.
just because my adult self understands this now, the energy that's stored and trapped is frozen
Mhm.
in time, and she doesn't know that yet. And so it's
Mhm.
actually bringing what we do learn in this talk realm and this cognitive realm. Okay, I have this new awareness, this new understanding. For example, um, many of us as adults might look back and say, now I get it. My parents were just doing the best they could with what they had,
Yeah. Right.
right? And that's a big awareness.
Mm.
And that young version of us still got really impacted.
Right.
by the, perhaps lack of capacity to show up in different ways that we really needed.
Right.
And so just because I understand this now doesn't mean that I that it is healing the part of me that went through that. And so
Mm,
that's where it's kind of bridging the gap here of going,
mm,
okay, we're talking, but and that's what also the timeline, it transforms it, because suddenly now I'm getting into the root of it.
mm,
What did I take on going through that experience of maybe my parents not showing up for me in some of the ways I needed?
mhm,
What did that make me believe about my worth? What did that make me believe
mm.
about my role? How did I learn that I need to show up in order to receive attention, love, support? And
Right.
that's kind of the piece that we go into. And that's the stuff that gets triggered through the body, because it is stored in the body. So you'll move through, the issues are in the tissues. You move through different postures, and suddenly, like, why is this emotion coming through? And I see a lot of the somatic realm as translating, really
Oh,
helping to
yes.
translate what the body is trying to tell us.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it helps us feel less crazy, because
Yeah.
when we're not translating it, we're like, why am I
Right.
like this? Why am
Yeah.
I feeling this? What's going on? Oh, it
Hmm.
makes sense. It makes sense.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
with that understanding, then do you guide them to kind of like process that understanding so that then is the trauma released then? Or like, tell me a little bit more
Yeah.
about how that process works. I'm like so fascinated to know.
Yeah, it is so fascinating. I absolutely love it. And I really do follow, I'm really mostly inspired through that internal family systems model and the
Mhm,
somatic experiencing realm, where I kind of intuitively blend them to
mhm,
follow in the body, not only what is being held, but where is it being held. So
mhm,
that process might look like, we're just connecting because you're noticing that you're just dealing with lots of anxiety
mhm,
constantly, like you're short of
mhm,
breath, and you go get a massage every week and your shoulders relax for about an hour, and then they're right back up by your
mhm,
ears.
mhm,
And then so what we'll do is we'll just start talking to those parts. Okay, there's a part of me that feels like it can't let go. There's a part of me that feels like it needs to cling and hold on. And
mhm,
then as we ask, what does it think would happen if it did let go, if it did open? Suddenly there will be an intuitive answer that says, I'll fall apart completely, or
mhm,
something bad will happen, or whatever it might be.
mhm.
Okay, there's a part that's playing a protective role. And then
Right.
we can kind of follow, what is it worried about you feeling? Oh, okay, now I'm noticing a knot in my stomach, and it's like this pit in my
Mm,
stomach. And that's really familiar. And when we can connect to what we call self energy, that really kind of true essence, whether you refer to it as higher self,
mm,
whether it's, spirit, soul, whatever the
mm,
languaging is around it, there is an essence in all of us that we can connect to as a witness, to go,
mm,
oh, okay,
mhm,
can I come and approach this with compassion and curiosity? And so
mhm,
then, how old does this part
mhm,
that's holding this knot in my stomach think I am? And
mhm,
and
mhm,
it's crazy. There will be an answer there. It'll
mm.
say 7 years old, and
Right.
we'll go, why? I don't know. Let's
Yeah.
just see.
Yeah.
Okay, as we start to witness that 7 year old, then we start to just kind of allow, and it's really kind of like a guided meditation in many
Mhm,
ways,
mhm,
but it will start to show us what I went through and how that impacted me, because Gabor Mate is a really beautiful trauma healer and educator, and he talks about trauma is not what happened to you, it's what happened inside you as a result of what
mm,
happened to you.
mhm,
And
mhm.
that's really what this journey is. It's less about going into the story of the events that happened, but what did that make you feel? What did that make you believe? And
Yeah.
understanding it from that 7 year old perspective, for example.
Right.
And what's really neat in terms of like, how do you heal that? How do you release that? There's kind of a process of inviting in the elements
Mm,
of inviting the 7 year old. Okay, if you can now see, kind of bringing that adult awareness
mhm,
to this young part that can help see, oh, okay, the reason that nobody paid attention to me wasn't because I wasn't worth paying attention to. It's
mhm.
because the adults in my life were so caught up in their own chaotic dynamics that
Right.
they didn't have the capacity to give me the
Right.
attention and energy I needed. Oh, that wasn't about me. And so that's the release, that's the healing, is that
Mhm,
belief that it said something about me.
mhm,
And that's where the elements, it goes, maybe I want to give this to the ocean, or maybe there's a sense of, a lot of
mm,
times, burning it in the fire.
mhm,
Very
mhm,
popular one.
mhm,
Maybe
mhm,
it's up in the air, it's whatever. And it just allows this, oh, and you just feel the energy moving from the body. Okay,
mhm,
the knot in the stomach is softening, the shoulders are relaxing.
mhm,
Okay, now when I do feel this way down the road, when I feel like nobody's paying attention to me, oh, I can recognize that's that 7-year-old that
Oh.
was believing that. And now instead of getting angry, I'm going, hey, hey, it's okay. I
Mm-hmm.
hear you. I see you. I'm paying attention
Mm-hmm.
to you. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of that integration component that happens after the
Mm-hmm.
initial
Mm-hmm.
connection and release. So that's kind of the
That's
process. Yeah.
beautiful. That's so beautiful. For
Mm.
those that are listening that are not quite understanding what somatic means, or how that relates, could you speak into a little bit about, helping them
Yeah,
understand what somatic therapy is?
definitely. So somatic is just referring to the soma, meaning the body. So it's
Mhm,
really just getting into, and those that really teach on this have much deeper
mhm,
syntax,
mhm,
breakdown
mhm,
of the word somatic.
mhm,
But it really is in the basis getting into the body, really anything that is working in an awareness of that mind body connection. And so
mm,
there's a lot of different beautiful practices and different techniques that I one of my teachers once said there's only two types of therapy. There's therapy that works and therapy that doesn't. And
mm.
that's going to be different for everybody. So
Yeah.
it's really about finding what works for you and then great, follow that, trust that, go with that.
Right.
And so in the world of somatics, there's many different versions and different
Yeah.
approaches. And then you just find what you really connect with and resonate with.
Hmm.
Um, and so, but it's that process of connecting to the body, really that inherent wisdom in the body and that inherent healing capacity of
Hmm.
the body too, which I think our culture today doesn't quite acknowledge.
Hmm.
It's a lot of for healing we need to go to an external source,
Hmm.
and there is, thank goodness, many beautiful external
Yeah.
sources that support our healing. But there's also the same intelligence in our DNA that knew how to turn us from two little cells into an entire human
Mm.
being
Right.
has that same intelligence that knows how to really bring about healing. And
Hmm.
what's really fascinating is it can that emotional energy that we
Hmm.
tap into, those beliefs, as those shift, the physical body can heal too.
Hmm.
So I mean, they've seen with fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, different chronic pains and illnesses,
Hmm.
going into the somatic realm and doing some of this work actually creates physical healing. Not just,
Hmm.
oh, I feel emotionally better, but oh, my whole system is
Right.
releasing healing and responding.
Oh, that's
Really
fascinating.
wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible. So, what
Mhm.
are some of the ways that you actually support? I know you work primarily with women. What are some of
Yeah.
the ways that you actually support women through this process?
So what I do right now is one-on-one via
Mhm,
Zoom because I'm
mhm,
traveling the globe at the
mhm.
moment,
I
working
know,
as
I'm so
a
excited. You're just in Paris. I got to see your
Zoom
pictures.
zooming in from France. Yeah. Um, so over Zoom is
Mhm,
how I do the one-on-one sessions, um, but it's really the one-on-one support of I'm supporting a container that
mhm,
can create safety because one thing that is true is that much of our trauma is relational. Even
mhm,
if something happened like a car accident or something
mhm,
else that wasn't that was external to relationship, there's still the component of how was I supported through that? What was the messaging to me that came from that? How were the people around me
mhm,
reacting? That really is what informs how we internalize a lot of those
mhm,
experiences.
mhm.
So there is what I've noticed, and this has been through my own experience because I've thought, okay, well, if I can understand this stuff, I should just be able to do it all on my own.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I get
right?
it. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
got the hack.
yeah.
There are parts of us that are waiting to be
Mhm,
witnessed in that relational space before they're ready to kind of open and let that healing come through. And so what I see my role as is really providing that kind of compassionate, supportive witnessing space so that
mhm,
as I help guide someone to connect with and really kind of mediate between the different parts because a lot of times they can be in conflict.
mhm,
um, for instance, one part of us says, I really want to speak and put myself out there, and the other part says, no, like
mhm.
stay small. Small is safe. Being seen is
Yeah,
dangerous because it's
yeah,
holding on to that belief. This part now hates this part. Like, get out of
right.
my way. Stop
Yeah,
choking me up when I try to
yeah,
say my truth.
yeah.
And really having to give space for each part of
Mhm,
us
mhm,
to
mhm,
speak so we can get to the root of it. And so it's really the person doing their own healing in their own process, and I'm just kind of helping support,
mhm,
being that mediator between the different
mhm,
parts so that we can help connect to that self energy and
mhm,
understand. And the coolest response that is consistently there is oh, it makes so much sense. You know,
Yeah.
once you witness, there's
Yeah.
all these parts of us we're so frustrated with, and we're just, why am I ending up in the same relationship over and over
Right.
again? Or
Right.
why does this keep happening? And we connect to those parts and it goes,
Mm.
oh, oh, that
Mm.
makes so much, of
Yes.
course I would, because of
Yeah.
how that impacted me.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you actually talked about how we actually need this relational experience with another person. And
Mm,
because I do some mindset work with my people, and I've done mindset work with myself as well, like investing in a mindset coach for literally 3 years because we can't see
mhm.
our own stuff. It's like we can't see the label when we're inside the bottle, right? And so you actually, when you've got somebody that can say, oh, wait a minute, let's take a look at
Yes,
this, or they can give you a new perspective, or they can help you tap into those parts, and you can actually say, hey, I think we're dealing with two different parts here. Let's unpack that together. And that's
yes.
just so incredible. Like, we're really not supposed to do this work alone. We're really not.
Mhm.
I mean, and this, cultural entrainment that we should be able to figure it all out on our own, it's just wrong. It's just a myth. And so I'm really, really glad that you brought that up, because I think as humans, we are, for lack of a better term, pack animals, right? We are designed to be in relationship. We know that when
Mhm.
babies don't get attention, they withdraw and they
Mhm.
die, right? Failure to survive. Or when
Yeah.
back in our ancestor time, if we got kicked out of the tribe, we would die because there wasn't that communal support. So I think that, that genetic piece that we have inside is there for a reason, so that we can be in
Yeah.
that community and relationship and move through those pieces that we can't do on our own.
Absolutely. And it is such a hard wiring in us that
Mhm,
from, like you said, that moment that we enter this reality,
mhm.
there is survival based need for connection. Because
Yeah,
also those first years of life, our survival relies on
yeah,
other.
yeah,
We are, I think the only instinct that humans are born with is suckling, like to
yeah,
breastfeed. Like that is it. Other
yeah.
than that, we got nothing. Like we're the least prepared creatures. Like you
Yeah,
look at the animal kingdom and they come out just knowing how to do all sorts of things.
yeah,
Human
yeah.
babies, we're like, I rely on the other for
Mhm,
everything, for my entire survival. So it is
mhm.
really wired in us in a deep, deep, deep way, which is why those early bonds and like that 0 through 7 years of age, it's really impactful because
Mhm,
all that I know is that I rely on the other for my survival based needs. And that means attachment, that means
mhm,
connection, belonging, safety, security. These are the priorities for
mhm.
my sense of okayness. And when
Yeah,
those things are being threatened or when they're not being shown up in those ways, my whole system says we have to figure out how to get that.
yeah.
So if I don't feel like I'm being accepted for who I am as I am,
Mhm.
then I got to figure out how to belong. I need to figure out who you want me to be
Right,
because I have a survival need to
right,
be connected, to
right.
feel like, okay, good, you accept me,
Mhm,
and therefore I will be fed, supported, loved, nurtured,
mhm,
you know.
mhm.
So it is really, really necessary. And that's, as most of those woundings come through relational spaces, I think that's why also healing comes
Mm.
in that space. And I love
Really?
that you can't read the label while you're in the bottle. It's so true. And I
Yeah.
think part
Mhm,
of that is that oftentimes we are not in that true self energy when we're trying to
mhm,
do the work with ourselves.
mhm,
We're often quite enmeshed with different parts of us.
mhm.
Like if I'm trying to do some self healing and I'm really frustrated with my process, that's not me connected to self.
Yeah,
That's me
yeah.
really enmeshed with a part of me that's
Right.
quite judging my own
Yeah,
process.
yeah,
And I might need you to kind of bring that to my awareness.
yeah,
Ah, it sounds like a part of you is really,
yeah,
frustrated with, oh
yeah.
yeah, maybe that is a part of me. Maybe that's
Mhm.
not me. We
Yeah.
need that. We need the other. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I know even for myself, when I get into something, it's like, when you're feeling the emotions, it's hard to look at the emotion when you're that close to it, right? And we do need somebody to help us kind of step back and
Mm,
calm the nervous system so that we are not so reactive, so that amygdala, that emotional part of our brain, which you know so much about, is not
mhm.
hijacked, right? Because when it's hijacked, we're not actually using the prefrontal cortex of our brain anymore. So
Yeah.
it's really hard for us to do that work on our own when we are having this emotional experience that's being run by a different part of our brain. And I love that, you create that container of safety and calm and security and belonging and love to let that part soften so that then we can start tapping into the self and be able to look at it from a different part of the brain.
Yeah, that's such an important point to bring up, is that whole wiring of the brain, right? Because when we are in that activated fight flight, when that amygdala is going, it does absolutely take our prefrontal cortex offline. Like,
Mhm.
it's so wild that they do those brain scans now and you can
Yeah.
see, oh yeah, no, there's nobody's
Yeah.
home up here. We are just
Yeah.
just in this reactive zone.
Yeah.
And I think, and when you connect this with parts work, what's interesting is that it's like, okay, the more times that I was presented with some level of threat in my life, that
Mhm.
activated my nervous system. And that is really what accelerated. It's kind of like hitting the gas pedal on
Mhm.
the car. Vroom, I got all this energy
Mhm. Mhm.
for fighting or fleeing my way out of this. If I wasn't able to use that energy to resolve whatever was
Mhm.
there, which most of the experiences we go through, like,
Mhm.
this system is wired to run away from a tiger, and we no longer have tigers in our life. Most
Right.
is relational. Most is maybe my parents were fighting and I couldn't make that stop.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. But it's threatening. It's threatening.
Yeah.
It's very, very threatening to my system. So now I go into the freeze state, and but it's like the accelerator's still on. We hit the brakes, but
Yeah.
all that energy is still like
Mhm.
revved up inside. And then
Mhm.
it gets trapped and it gets held there. The
Mhm.
more that we go through those experiences without allowing that energy to be resolved, it's
Mhm.
like we build up the pressure in the pressure cooker. It's like having
Mhm.
a smoke detector that just when you think about making toast, it starts to go wild.
Mhm.
It's like,
Mhm.
it's really like
Mhm.
danger, 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 danger. So
Mhm.
this is where we get into that space where we're finding ourselves being so reactive, where we're finding ourselves being like just on the brink of an emotional outburst, or we're finding ourselves not being able to digest or relax or rest or anything like that.
Right.
And it's like, what's wrong with me? And we get so frustrated. We
Yep.
feel, really less than in many ways.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's because our nervous system, all it knows, if I have fight flight energy activated inside of me, it means there's a tiger. It means there's danger. It
Yeah.
means the most threatening thing to do is to
Mhm.
just sit here and meditate, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's when we try to push people straight
Yeah.
into that state. It's like, I want to put my head through a wall because
Mhm.
everything is saying danger, danger, danger. So the
Yeah.
work is to support that nervous system to be able to release, which I see like that
Mhm.
parts where it kind of like helps these release valves kind of let some of that
Mhm.
out, bringing that nervous system back into a place where we can feel safe. And as we do that, like,
Mhm.
this is where any practice that brings our awareness to the present moment is lights up this center of our brain.
Mm. Oh,
It
interesting.
like, that's how we start rewiring it.
Mm.
The fight flight is taking us thinking about the past, projecting it into a potential future, past
Mhm.
future, past future.
Mhm.
We want to be in the present moment. So that's why all of these mindfulness based practices actually are
Mhm.
so powerful. But I am not going to sit and focus on my breath if I don't understand that,
Yeah.
because it's going to drive me crazy. It's going to be so frustrating.
Mm.
And so I need to know that actually, every time my awareness runs away and I bring it back to my breath, or I
Mhm.
bring it back to the present moment, or I smell my food and I chew it as I'm
Mhm.
eating it,
Mhm.
I am rewiring a pathway to access the part of
Mm.
my brain that can help me be here. And so, and I think this is why, and you might know this too with the yogis, they talk about the most advanced yoga pose is Shavasana.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that is so true when we look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
it takes
great.
a lot of work to bring our system to feel safe to
Yep.
just be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so powerful, Carissa, because yeah, if we are trying to push ourselves to do something that probably only increases the fight, flight, freeze state versus,
Mhm.
okay, I know I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling, revved up, and how can I just focus today? Or how can I just focus on the breath? Or how can I
Mhm.
just, and realizing that it might take more than 5 minutes, right? To
Mhm.
kind of calm the nervous system. So with the somatic piece, with the body, like, are there some specific movements that are helpful to kind of bring, I would think that when you're focusing on the
Yeah.
body, that is present moment, right?
Absolutely, exactly. Anything that can bring your awareness to your senses
Mhm.
is really, really powerful because that is present moment. So, what am I hearing? That's why, like, tapping your feet
Mhm.
on the ground is really grounding and helps bring you back
Yes.
into your body.
Yeah.
What am I smelling? That's why mindful eating is really powerful too,
Mhm.
because, okay, I'm smelling my food, I'm tasting my food. The other bonus of that is that when we bring ourselves into the present moment, we give an opportunity for that rest, digest, that
Mhm.
parasympathetic response to kick in. And now not only am I calming my nervous system and I'm
Mhm.
enjoying my food, but my body has an opportunity to actually digest and process it.
Yeah.
So mindful eating is a really great one. It
Yeah.
doesn't take any time out of our day because we're
Yeah.
already eating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
my dad actually, he had got to a point where his nervous system was really wired with his job that he was in. He was waking up with chest pains. He ended up on
Mhm.
an inhaler. He's like,
Wow.
what's going on? And so he
Right.
learned about some mindfulness techniques. The only change he made was that when he woke up and his mind would start thinking about the meeting ahead, he'd go, okay, no, I'm gonna smell my coffee as I sip it. And then his mind
Mm.
would wander away and he'd pull it back. No, I'm feeling my teeth as I brush my teeth.
Ah,
He just kept bringing it
yes.
back to whatever he was doing in his morning routine.
Yes.
And he's never been on an inhaler since. Like he did that for a little, well, I think a couple of weeks, honestly, is all it took.
Wow.
And he just integrated that. That was 10 years ago. And he told me about this. And I was like, oh, dad, I don't want to hear about mindfulness, whatever. And here I am teaching about it.
Isn't that
But
fascinating? Oh my God, I love that.
yeah.
I love the
Mhm.
example of how something so simple has
Yeah,
such a transformational impact and such a powerful effect.
absolutely. And another one of my favorite hacks too is when it comes to breath work, anytime if you are in a heightened state, just a longer exhale. So any
Mhm.
breath that you're just, and so I like the pursed lip breathing. If you're like,
Yeah.
and you blow it out,
Yeah.
and we do these things intuitively. Like
Yeah.
we'll notice we're breathing like that often
Yeah.
intuitively, but
Yeah.
anytime you can make a longer exhale, because the inhale, there's a little elevation in the heart rate. So there's actually an association with the sympathetic, that fight flight.
Mhm.
The exhale, there's a decrease in the heart rate, which is the association with the parasympathetic. So
Yes.
that's actually why we want longer. We want to help come
Yep.
out of that and longer.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be rocket science, and it's
Yeah.
not actually.
Yeah.
Play is so powerful. Finding
Mm.
time to play is really powerful because it brings us, if you want to, have the best guru for how to be present, just spend some time with children. They
Right.
are so present, right? That
Yeah.
ladybug. It's
Right.
just like
Right.
all
Right.
of my awareness is on this
Yeah.
ladybug.
Yeah.
And yeah. So there's a lot. I do have a free resource on my website that
Yeah.
is just a 7-minute guided energy medicine routine. So it's just to add 7 minutes into your day. My intention of creating it was to just provide a little bit of a
Mhm.
routine that helps use some techniques, some somatic basic
Mhm.
techniques, some energy medicine based techniques, some yoga techniques that
Mhm.
just kind of bring the nervous system into a state of present moment awareness, which
Mhm.
means safety,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yes.
Um, so yeah,
Let
trying
me
to make it
see.
as simple as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I love this so much, Carissa. Thank you so much. And for those of you that are listening, please check the description. You can grab that link there. Carissa, how else can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you if they want to learn more, if they want to connect
Mhm.
with you?
Yeah, my website is www.carissabrockman.com. And so that's where I do my one-on-one
Hmm.
therapy work as
Hmm.
well as speaking engagement. So I do speaking right now and love to teach and talk about these topics.
Hmm.
So I can be contacted there. And then I'm also on Instagram at somatically embodied. And I try to just upload little videos, little
Hmm.
helpful tools, techniques, understandings that can just support us. We're all just
Hmm.
walking each other home. And as I'm learning it
Yeah.
and I'm still healing, I'm still, working to implement all the things I teach on. And as I find things that, okay, this feels
Mhm.
relevant, then maybe somebody
Yeah.
else will resonate too. So
Yeah. Oh,
that's how I use that
absolutely.
space.
I love this so much. Yes. We're
Yeah.
always growing and learning, right? I mean, and one of the
Oh
things
yeah.
that I think one of the most important things that I realized even in my own journey, in my personal growth and my business and the mindset work is that it's a constant practice. It's not a one and
Mhm.
done. It's not like we can turn on or
Mhm.
off the light switch and be like, okay, I'm done now. Like I never have to
Mhm.
like do mindset work anymore. Or I never need to bring my awareness back to the present anymore. Like I'm done with that. There's
Yeah.
always work and always, that lifting of the weights if we want to build muscle,
Yeah.
or that, putting on the sneakers if we want to go out and actually, get some movement in. We still have to be working on that. So I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that you're doing this work here to support women through this
Yeah.
process. It's so, so powerful.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'm doing some energy training, and he
Yeah.
mentioned talking about the work of like clearing our energy field. And he
Yeah.
said that exact same thing, that people think, oh, once I've done it once, I'll just be done. And he's like,
Yeah.
that's the same concept of thinking, if I just shower really, really, really thoroughly, I'll never have to shower again. It's
Right,
like,
right,
right? It's
right.
like same thing, just like we have to shower because you go
Yes.
back out in the world and you get dirty. And so you got to
Yes.
wash it off. We need to do this with all other layers of our being as well. It's constant
Oh.
maintenance and support, and we just get more and more tools of
Mm.
yeah, of how to do that.
Oh, I love that analogy so much, for
Yeah.
sure. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have started using it.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. All right, my friend. Thank you
Uh,
so much for being here. Again, everybody, go connect
mm,
with Krista. Check the description, download in the show notes, your free 7-minute meditation. Connect with her on Instagram, connect with her. Are you on Facebook too, Carissa? Or do
yeah,
you?
I'm personally on Facebook at
Okay,
Carissa
great.
Brockman. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Go to her website, and thank you so much for being here. It's been so, so awesome having this conversation with you.
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so, so much.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. We'll see you back here next time.